Week 5 of the fantasy football season. His top 12 defense DST units I'm ranking this week. Number 1, the Detroit Lions. A great matchup with the Cincinnati Bengals. Last week they couldn't move the football or do anything. And going back 2 weeks ago as well versus the Minnesota Vikings, they couldn't move the football. So Detroit, we know they got a good pass rush. We know they can make plays in the secondary, create turnovers. We saw it last week, even though it was the Cleveland Browns. But like I said, the Cincinnati offense has looked like the worst offense in the league over the last couple weeks here. So I like Detroit. Number 1, number 2, the Arizona Cardinals. So this week they're a good streaming option. Great matchup. Tennessee coming in to Arizona. And Tennessee last week they got shut out 26-0 in Houston. So I think Arizona, they could get to Cam Ward early and often. Calvin Ridley has been non-existent this season. Tony Pollard's been decent, and the rookie Alec Ayomaner has been decent at times. But this offense has a bad offensive line, and they're not a team that really put points on the board besides through Joey Sly so far this season. Number 3, Minnesota. So Minnesota, a couple weeks ago, they blew the doors off on Cincinnati, had one of the better DST performances in terms of fantasy points you'll see all season long. And this week, a good matchup overseas with Cleveland Browns. So the rookie Dylan Gabriel, it's going to be his first career start. And we know Robert Flores, he's not happy, the defensive coordinator for this Viking team. After last week, they got gashed on the ground by Kenneth Gainwell, and DK Metcalf had a big 80-yard touchdown. But I think it's going to be a long day for the rookie Gabriel. I think Minnesota is going to get a couple sacks in this game, get a couple turnovers. And I think they honestly could hold this Cleveland Brown team 10, 14-point range. Number 4, Kansas City Chiefs. So the Chiefs defense starting to play better over the last couple weeks. And this week, a good matchup at the Jacksonville Jaguars. Monday Night Football, Trevor Lawrence, he hasn't looked good. I know the Jacksonville Jaguars 3-1 on the season, but that's led by their running back Travis Etienne. Brian Thomas, he's been a non-factor in the passing game. Travis Hunter, two-way player. They've had him this season where he's pretty much hasn't done much receiving the football as well. So I think Kansas City, they go out there on Monday night, they stick to their game plan, get the pass rush, use McDuffie to shut down Thomas, and they could be in for another good game. And last week we saw them shut down that Baltimore offense. Number 5, the Houston Texans. Texans coming off a shutout, but it was the Tennessee Titans. But this week, a good matchup at Baltimore where Cooper Rush is in their quarterback. So Lamar Jackson possibly out 2 to 3 weeks with the hamstring injury. Cooper hasn't been with this Baltimore Raven team where he was with the Dallas Cowboys for a while over the last few seasons. I think Houston, they could get pressure on Cooper Rush early and often in this game. The offensive line's banged up. And also as well, Derrick Henry's having a down year for this Baltimore Raven team, even though I think he's going to break out of it and get going. But with all those factors, and Houston playing a great game last week, and if they could somehow pull this victory off, they're back in the hunt at 2-3. Number 6, the Cleveland Browns. So this week, a good matchup versus Minnesota. Carson Wentz, we know he's a gunslinger. We know he's a quarterback that's going to take chances, but what comes with it, obviously taking sacks and turning the football over. And this Cleveland Brown team last week, I know they gave up 34 points, but their offense put their defense in bad positions. If Dylan Gabriel could just be a little decent in this ball game this week and give this defense some rest, I think it could pay dividends for this Brown defense. And we know they're led by Myles Garrett, arguably the best pass rusher in pro football and one of the better corners in the league in Denzel Ward. So I think Cleveland this week, overseas game, they could go out there and make a few plays on Carson Wentz, and this could be a grinded out game as well. Number 7, the Indianapolis Colts. So a good matchup this week for Indianapolis. Las Vegas coming to town, and Geno Smith's been a turnover machine. 3 turnovers last week. I know Ashton Ginty had the breakout ball game, 3 touchdowns, but Brock Bowers hasn't been the same with the knee injury, and Jacoby Myers has been hot and cold this season. So with those factors, in Indianapolis, a better home team than they are on the road defensively, I like them as a top 10 option. Number 8, the New York Giants. A 1-week streaming option is this New York Giant DST. A great matchup with the New Orleans Saints. Even though the Saints, they have put some points on the board and actually were competitive last week in that game, was New Orleans at the Buffalo Bills for the first 2.5 quarters. But New York, they got some guys. They got Thibodeau, obviously. They got Burns, who can make plays, and got the rookie Abdul Carter. So I think this game, New York, they could go in there. They got confidence now after they played great defense versus Justin Herbert and the Charger offense. Even though I know they're down 2 offensive linemen, the Giants still went out there and made the plays when they needed to. So this week, Spencer Rattler be in for a long game. Number 9, the Philadelphia Eagles. So this Eagle DST, they find ways to make plays even versus good offenses. And this week, it's a decent matchup versus Denver. I know Denver came off a big game, but that was versus Cincinnati Bengals on Monday Night Football. So obviously, Jalen Carter, the lead guy on this defense for Philadelphia. Good secondary with Mitchell and Cooper DeJean as great guys in that secondary. In Philadelphia, the blueprint for them, get off to an early lead, one-dimensional, start teeing off, and that's where the turnovers and sacks come into play. So this week, Philly, once again, even in a tougher matchup, they're top 10 up. Number 10, the Buffalo Bills. So this Bill DST definitely is disappointed so far this season, where they've had a couple good matchups on paper. Last week versus New Orleans, they didn't do much. And going back a couple weeks ago versus Miami, that their offense wasn't sinking. But this week versus New England, I know Drake May's playing great football. The backfield has been a mess over there in New England. And besides Stephon Diggs and Hunter Henry, there's not much going on in the passing game. Stephon Diggs, he really wasn't doing much until last week. He had a breakout 6 for 106 with all those factors. And, some of these guys on this Buffalo defense, they don't want Diggs to have a good game. I think Buffalo this week in a division matchup goes out there and plays better defensively. Number 11, the Los Angeles Rams. So this 49er team banged up. George Kittle most likely not going to play in this ball game, obviously. Brock Purdy, if he does play, he's not 100% with the toe. And same for the top two receivers on this roster. Ricky Pearson and Jawan Jennings, they're hurt, and we don't know if they're going to play in this ball game. So if a few guys are out of the lineup there, I think Los Angeles, that's where they could tee off, go out there and make some plays. I know the defense hasn't been good this season for the most part. They've been winning high-scoring games is Los Angeles, besides in Week 1 where they held down that Houston Texan team to single digits. But I think Los Angeles this week, like I said, with all those injuries, even though it's Thursday night, could go out there and have a decent ball game. And the 12th and final defense DST I'm ranking is the Seattle Seahawks. I know Tampa Bay's coming in. I know Tampa Bay could put points on the board, but also Tampa Bay's had a problem of turning the football over. We know Baker Mayfield's that traditional gunslinger, a Brett Favre type. He's going to take his chances. Sometimes those 50-50 balls are going to work in his favor, and then sometimes they're going to go the other way for touchdowns at times as well for Baker Mayfield. And Bucky Irvin, he's had a couple fumble problems here and there, and also Rashad White. So with those factors, back home with the 12th man in Tampa Bay's offensive line banged up, and also we know Mike Evans is out in this game, and Chris Godwin not 100% returning from injury last week. I think Seattle could be a decent option for owners this week. So that's the top 12 defense DST units I'm ranking for Week 5 of the fantasy football season.